And the problem with some of our friends on the right is that they didn't want to cut the tax rate because we couldn't cut taxes until the budget was balanced. In 1962 and 63, when President John F. Kennedy talked about getting America moving again by cutting the tax rates across the board by 30%, Republicans opposed him. The top tax rate in 1960 was 91%. Ed Meese and I were talking about the fact that candidate Reagan, when I talked to him in 1979, I forget the restaurant in Los Angeles, and I had told the story. Well, I'll tell it with you. I sat down with him. I hope this doesn't sound like I'm wearing it on my sleeve, because I don't mean it in that way at all. But I had the rare opportunity to have this lunch with Governor Reagan, soon to be candidate Reagan, and he was talking about things that I thought were important for Buffalo, New York, for the steelworkers and longshoremen of my district. And he was the only one who was supporting, the only candidate in the country supporting lowering the tax rates by 1/3 or 30% across the board reduction in the tax rates was Ronald Reagan. If you remember, it was called voodoo economics. I was called a witch doctor, a snake oil salesman, a dangerous riverboat gambler, and that was just coming from my own party. Can't imagine what Richard Gebhardt and Tip O'Neill called me. But I got a chance to come out and visit with candidate Reagan. And I had read something by, I told my friends at our table, I had read something from President Calvin Coolidge. And Reagan loved Calvin Coolidge. I think he and I were the only ones who really loved Calvin Coolidge. He was a great president, by the way. But long story short, I won't go into that as a diversion. I said, you know, Calvin Coolidge gave a great speech one time, Mr. Governor. I didn't call him Mr. President yet. He talked about an economy in a week. He said, what if you went to work on Monday and you were taxed at 20% of everything you produced on Monday? 20% would be taken by the government. And then you went to work on Tuesday and 30% was taken from you. And then you went to work on Wednesday and it was 40. Thursday was 50, Friday 60, and if you wanted to work overtime and save some money for a rainy day and you worked on Saturday, the government took 70% of your income. How long would you work? And a big smile came over his face. And you know, he'd tip his head, that great Irish geniality, and he said, well, I'd probably stop around Wednesday.